Just want to get into some Texas football conversation here and go behind the burnt orange curtain. A couple of topics that I want to hit here, which we'll do. First of all, I want to give props to CDC. Chris Del Conte, he received an award from the Sports Business Journal. Athletic Director of the Year is the award they received, and Longhorn fans would all agree, well deserved, because CDC does an amazing job in Texas. I believe this calendar year, their last season of sports in the Big 12, 15 Big 12 titles out of 21 varsity sports, which is a Big 12 record, so it's conference record, and I believe it's a record at Texas as well, so it's Texas record and a Big 12 record. And now, man, I want to say, in terms of players of the year that Texas has, in terms of all of their sports, who are players of the year in their respective sports, I believe they're up to like 7 or 8. I got to go look at that too in terms of best players overall in their sports. I mean, Texas is, like I said, they're getting a lot of recognition, well deserved. So happy for CDC, and congratulations to CDC on that award. All right, let's get to these 5 stars here. There's some 5-star rankings out by 247, and 247. The way they do their 5-star rankings is they essentially are defining their 5 stars. The guy who's going to play on Sundays in the NFL. From what I've been told, they're like, this guy's gonna play in the NFL. Done. All right, that's just, he's got an NFL. Even as a high school kid, you can say, okay, the guy's gonna play in the NFL. That's why they only have 32 of them. I think, from what I've been told, the reason they have 32 is for the 32 NFL teams, and that's how few prospects there are with a 5-star ceiling, based on what they've done. That's where they drop it off. I think some other platforms, and they may do more than that, but from what I know from 247, they literally have 32 for 32 NFL teams. Boom, 32 5-star recruits,
32 first-round picks. There you go. Nice.
Basically, that kind of, it's kind of how they go. Like, basically, these are our first rounders from the high school level. We believe that they can play at the NFL level. Yes. So now, but some of these guys are already committed. Ohio State's got 3 of these guys committed. USC's got 3 of them committed, and then Georgia, Florida State, A&M, Auburn, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and LSU each have 1 committed, and the rest of them are uncommitted. Now, for Longhorn fans, they're excited because 3 of these guys, 3 wide receivers actually. There are 3 Texas wide receivers that are ranked as 5 stars. DeCorian Moore is one of these guys. There's also Khalil Lockett. It's another 5-star receiver on this list as well. And I believe it's Jamie French is the other. Now, he's from Florida. He's not from Texas. The other 2 guys are from the state of Texas. But, from a lot of the insiders, the recruiting insiders and recruiting analysts out there, they believe that Texas is not only in the hunt, but they could potentially be favorites to get 2 of those 3 5-star receivers in this 2025 class, which is crazy. I mean, last time Texas had multiple 5-star receivers in a class, I mean, I got to go back and look, but I want to say it might have been when I was on campus with Roy Williams, BJ Johnson, and Sloan Thomas. If I'm not mistaken, all 3 of them were 5-star receivers coming in. I know BJ and Roy were. I believe Sloan was, but Sloan could have been, I don't know, high 4-star, something like that. It's been a while, and that was before like modern recruiting. You know what I mean? So now I don't even know if you can go back and find like the actual blue chip status of all of those guys. But here's Mike Roach was on with 247 Sports. Mike Roach does a really good job, recruiting analyst, and he was talking about DeCorian Moore. A lot of people believe that DeCorian Moore, the 5-star receiver for that obviously in the state of Texas, that the University of Texas may be one of the front runners to get DeCorian Moore. Here is, and by the way, Ohio State, I believe is also a front runner for him, and that makes perfect sense because Ohio State can be considered wide receiver U. But here is Mike Roach talking about DeCorian Moore and the mutual interest in DeCorian Moore from Texas side, and also from DeCorian Moore to Texas.
Mike, I do want to ask you about the in-state Longhorns. They have a lot of the buzz right now. What do you make of Texas and their chances to reel him in?
Each of these 3 schools have kind of had their moment in the sun. When I talked to somebody near DeCorian in the early spring, it was like, hey, this is Oregon's race to lose at this point. And, mid-spring, it was Ohio State. This is kind of Texas's time. They've hosted him a couple of times on unofficial visits lately. He has a lot of family in the Austin area. His mother's originally from Austin. and a lot of teammates down there. Colin Simmons, the 5-star from Duncanville, who just signed last year, among them, a lot of friends. And I think Steve Sarkisian's shown, especially with the development they had this year with Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington, 3 receivers drafted. That offense is lethal when it comes to throwing the ball. Also, I think it's shown he can fit, he can develop, and he can stay at home and do it. That's always their strongest pitch is, to stay home and to be able to do it in state. And I think if you're looking at the long-term play, their best pitch they can make is what benefits do you have after football as a graduate in Texas if you want to live in Texas? I think that they have a strong network of graduates and amongst the state. And so I think that that's a big pitch they're going to be able to make as well.
All right. There's a Mike Roach saying Texas can make a really good pitch. So can Ohio State. I think Oregon's also in that recruitment. We don't talk a lot of recruiting, but I think it is pretty impressive that Texas could get multiple 5-star receivers. It's hard to get, first of all, hard to get a 5-star because there are only a few of them, like 30 to 40 of these 5-star recruits all across the country. So hard enough to get one, let alone multiple ones in the same class, and then hard enough to get multiple ones in the same class at the same position. That's almost impossible to do. So if Texas does that, it does show you, first of all, I think it shows you the NIL power of Texas, but also shows you the power of the brand and how attractive that Steve Sarkisian offense is. Okay, so there are 32 of these 5-star recruits in the 2025 class by 247 Sports. And 7 of them, if I counted correctly, 7 of them are from the great state of Texas. And I believe of that 7, 4 of the 7 are from the DFW area. And remember, I've talked to you guys about how DFW is probably the most fertile recruiting metro area in the country outside of Atlanta. Atlanta basically at this point is producing around 15, just the Atlanta metro area is producing around 15 draftable prospects a year. Just that metro area. DFW ain't far behind. It's a little under 12 in the DFW area. And that makes sense. So 4 of those 7 5-stars that are from the state of Texas are from that DFW area. No surprise there. But I just talked about Atlanta being the most fertile metro area in the country. Georgia, and I haven't looked at how many of these guys are from the Atlanta metro area. I'll do that in one of these breaks. But Georgia has 5, 6. State of Georgia also has 7 guys on the list. There you go. And I guarantee, I haven't done the math on it. I put money on it, more than half are from the Atlanta area. Put money on it. Just like more than half from the state of Texas are from DFW. I'm from H-Town. And I remember when H-Town was producing more NFL talent than DFW, but DFW has experienced more population booms and more, recent, migration to this that DFW area than Houston has. And guys, that's usually one of the ways. Look at Central Texas, right? Look at the boom of Central Texas, and look how many now really good football programs and how many great athletes are being produced here in Central Texas. That was not the case when I went to the University of Texas. The reason that you have that boom is just because the population booms. And all the migration patterns. If you follow migration patterns and population booms in this country, it's not totally accurate, but it's a really good way, predictive pattern to try to be able to prognosticate and project where the next fertile recruiting grounds are going to be in football. And Phoenix has been like that. The Phoenix area is like that. DFW, I think, is a prime example of that. The Carolinas are a prime example of that. That Charlotte area is blowing up. And a lot of that is because of the population boom. So you're starting to see that. And Atlanta, there's that Georgia area. There's been a lot of, population booms there as well in the Atlanta area. All right. Let's talk about, and we'll get back to that because I promise I'll give you the information on how many of those 7 5-stars from Georgia are actually from the Atlanta area. Just to give it to you, and I said this before, Georgia's overtaken California as one of the top 3 most fertile states for recruiting. It used to be Texas, California, and Florida. It is now Georgia, Texas, and Florida. Those are the big 3. California is 4th. And has been that for like the last 4 or 5 years. Cali is not producing the amount of players that state of Georgia is, state of Texas, and the state of Florida. And a lot of it is, we talk about migration patterns and population booms. What's happening in California? People will be leaving California. You've been leaving the West Coast. We know that in Texas. A lot of them coming to Texas. right? And that affects your, the fertility, if you will, of your recruiting grounds in your state. So I think that's kind of what's happened in California, but they're still firmly. I mean, LA, the metro area of LA, if you go look at it, is still third in the most fertile metro areas in the country. It's Atlanta, it's DFW, it's LA, then it's Houston, actually. Texas got two of them. Then it's Houston, and then I'll throw out. Then it actually recently, crazy enough a bit, that Baltimore area up north on the East Coast been ridiculously fertile recently in terms of producing NFL draftable